Webster is taking off for L.A. He lives to thrash. He loves to compete. But the competition is a killer.
Check it out, Hook and the Daggers. Don't think twice. Take it if you want it. Don't think twice. There's nothing in your way. Don't be blind.
You're gonna be the most beautiful girl at the club.
The music of the Bangles, Animation, Devo, Meatloaf, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Thrashin.
Hey everybody, it's the Cannon Cruisers. I'm JD.
And I'm Randy, and on this week's episode of the bonus feature, we continue our cruise through the sports film genre with the 1986 skater drama Thrashin', starring Josh Brolin, Robert Rusler, and Pamela Gidley.
That's right, Randy. This is a skateboarding movie that's supposed to be like West Side Story.
Or to go even further back, like Romeo and Juliet. And with that said, it's not really that in any way. Yes, there is some star-crossed lovers going on.
It's supposed to be that, but it's not really that.
Oh, lordy. How? Before we begin then, JD, this is a good way to segue into what is the plot of the movie if it's not basically West Side Story with skateboards?
It's the Karate Kid with skateboards,
which was West Side Story with fists and kicks.
And again, not really. It's just about a guy who is a skateboarder. He's trying to get into a competition so he can win. And he's dealing with this gang called the Daggers who are antagonizing him. But he falls in love with the sister of the main guy in the Daggers. And that's the relationship. And that's part of the story.
I guess that's the West Side Story connection?
That's the only real element of it that's like that. The rest of it is not like that. Not at all. So, like, it's mostly just an excuse to have some drama between the main character and the villain. That's about it, really.
Between the ramp locals, who are called that because they built their own ramp and they are local, and the Daggers, a punk band, a punk group that just likes hanging around and being jerkasses.
And destroying things for no reason at all.
My sister didn't obey me. We're burning down your ramp locals.
Yeah. It gets a bit out there at times. So, Randy, what were your general impressions of Thrashin' from 1986?
I said this before on a podcast, but there is like 30 minutes of plot in this film. The rest of the film is just them skateboarding from place to place.
All of it is an excuse to show skateboarding.
Yeah, but
it's just an excuse.
It's not even that interesting. Skateboarding is a lot of the times because it gets repetitive. And it's like, we're skateboarding from place to place and we're ollieing this homeless person. Oh, you fell over. We're ollieing you. Oh, we're harassing the people on the streets because we're skateboarders. And it's just like, oh, come on. Okay, at least when you do the actual events, it's interesting, but the interstitials, oh, come on.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, too.
There's 30 minutes of actual plot in the movie because of those.
Yeah. My favorite part is when they have the duel and they just give it up and start beating the crap out of each other.
They have a skate or die frickin' jousting tournament. And then they, as JD says, they give up at the end of it and just have a fist fight.
And then the bad guy literally just takes out a knife and stabs him. And for some reason, everybody starts blaming everybody except the guy who stabbed him for doing it. It's really
he stabbed him, but he broke his arm instead of actually being stabbed. So I don't know.
It's bizarre.
It's a strange movie. Did we also mention that this is a cult classic?
It's pretty clear. If we're covering it on here, it's probably a cult classic some way. So yeah, that's the basic gist of the movie. It's a skateboarding movie that's an excuse for skateboarding. That's more or less it. Unlike, say, Gleaming the Cube, which is more of a
neo-noir jinx
with some skateboarding in it. This is mostly just about the skateboarding. And everything else is an excuse to get to the skateboarding.
Where's the fireworks factory? When are we getting to the fireworks factory? After this 2 minute of dialogue, we'll get to the skateboarding. Oh, it's not that interesting, skateboarding.
Yeah, it's not quite like Skateboard the movie, which is mostly about the scene at the time. This is just kind of an excuse to just show different stunts and whatnot with skateboarding, with music.
And
playing.
really stereotypical skateboard hooligans that dressed up like rejects from Breakin' 2. Like, the Daggers would have been one of the gangs in that movie, but they had skateboards instead of dancing. I don't know.
That was one of them. Wasn't that one of the lines in the movie, too?
Breakin's dead.
Breakin's dead for some reason. Although it was 86, and I guess Breakin' was just before this. So, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So, yeah, that's the general gist of this movie. So we might as well just move into, because you already kind of touched on it.
Okay, before we go into the highlights or the lowlights, let me just mention that, and this is important to state, that this movie is also notorious because it features a long sequence with the Red Hot Chili Peppers playing a concert.
Yeah, that's one
at
of
a
the
small
early.
punk club.
This is before they were famous, before their first bout with fame, which came about, I think, in like 89 or 90. So
Yeah, that sounds about right.
This was before that. This is, I think, even before they even got their original drummer back. This is before that. So yeah, it's really early.
That's why I said it's important to state that this is the movie that is known because of the fact that it has.
It also has Josh Brolin in his first role post Goonies.
Yep. It also features like appearances from a lot of the well-known skateboarders of the time, like, and either as actual skaters characters or as stunt people. So you have Tony Alva, who gets top billing over Tony Hawk, Christian Hosoi,
Tony
and
Hawk
Steve
was-
Caballero.
Tony Hawk wasn't that big at this time.
No, he wasn't.
He was bigger later in the 90s.
The Hawkman wasn't that big.
Not yet. So yeah, so we might as well just start with lowlights, because you already touched on those a little
There's
bit.
30 minutes of plot in this 93-minute film.
Yeah. I was thinking about it while I was watching it. I'm like, you know, if it had more West Side Story elements to it, it actually might make the movie more interesting at times, because they're not really there. And they
Yeah,
should
you
be
mean if
there.
there was more tension and if there was more back and forth instead of like, we are skateboarding from location to location.
Well, like, that's the main problem is, like, the brother, the villain, is just kind of a psychopath for no reason. It doesn't really...
You're not good enough for my sister.
And it's like, dude, you just burned down a skate ramp for no reason.
Oh, they went on a date? I'm burning down the skate ramp.
Yeah, and then
I'm angry.
he's like chasing down the guy for no reason. This is before he even knew he was with his sister, so he's just doing it randomly, so it's even weirder. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff like that. Like, if you're doing the whole, like, Romeo and Juliet thing, like, the interesting part of that is the conflict between the families. Then there's no real clear bad guy or good guy in that conflict. It's just a bunch of people getting back at each other all the time. But in this case, it's just, no, this guy's just an ass, and the other guy didn't do anything. So it's, like I said, it's kind of like the Karate Kid, except even in that, Johnny kind of had a reason to not like Daniel in that movie, and in this one, not really.
I guess the Daggers are supposed to be top of the food chain in this skate, like, population locality like going on there. I don't know.
Might be, but I don't.
They all live in like a crack house.
But I don't really have any like sympathy for them or anything, because they're just jerks
Oh
all
God!
the time.
It's like, I'm gonna be totally honest. None of the characters in this film are likable.
Not really, no.
Not even the ones you're supposed to latch onto, like Cory, played by Josh Brolin, or I literally forgot her name. I just know her name's Pamela Gidley, is the actress.
The sister, you mean?
The sister, whose name I can't remember.
Yeah.
Chrissy, sorry, Chrissy.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly, I said, a lot of it is just an excuse to get to the next skateboard section, but like...
It's at least in Skateboard, it says it on the cover that this is Skateboard, the movie. So we know there's going to be a lot of... that this is just an excuse. But they still tell a story. This
still
one
a
here,
story.
it's called Thrashin'. And it's just...
It's an excuse.
It's an excuse, but
there's no
barely
story.
poorly executed excuse
Because
to
there's-
show off skateboarding.
Because there's no actual, like, connecting tissue here. It's mostly just, you know what the story is, here are all the beats to get the story, and that's it. As I said, it would have been more interesting if they would have gone into the whole aspect, like going back and forth, because even at the end of the movie when he wins the competition, like, oh, I guess that solves the conflict. Now he's fine with him. Even though he did
Yeah,
try to
they
break
did-
his arm the day before.
Didn't try, he actually broke his arm.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And that was after a competition where they were like evenly matched, and he just like, I'm going to start beating you up. Now I'm going to break your arm. Now I'm okay with you, I guess. There's like no ramp up or ramp off. It just seems kind of bizarre. I don't even know how else to put that. Yeah, that's my main gripe, I could say, with the movie. Just like, it would have been so easy to have connecting tissue here, because as I said, you could have still had the skateboarding stuff, and that would have been fine, but you could have had like the in-between conflicts between the two factions be interesting by having them go back and forth and having, conflicting emotions and, against each other, but that's not the case. It's just one side is just an asshole for no reason.
Yeah, and he's the most memorable character. Everybody, and
that's it.
Most of the characters are just assholes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot.
So wait, does that make me the asshole? Because if everybody around me are assholes, then that usually means that you're the asshole, not them.
Well, if you were in the movie, sure, that's what it means.
God, man, these people are unlikable. And we're going to segue to the high point, but we can't say the skating because that is too predictable. And we can't say the skate soundtrack.
Well, yeah, it is the music, though. The music is really good.
The music is really good.
It's really engaging.
I was just going to try to cut that off because I'm like, I know the only thing we can say good about this movie is it has a great soundtrack and it has some really good skating in it.
We were just complaining before, like, about the conflict, but the part where they were chasing him through the city at night and the music.
That was the most interesting scene.
That was a really good chase scene, especially the guy who
with
went
the circle
over,
jerks. Yeah,
he went over the side of the parking garage and over. It's like, okay, I guess that guy's dead. Because there's a few spills like that in the movie. You're just like, okay, I guess he's dead. It's like there's moments like that, like when there's fun moments of skating, like the competition at the end and like that scene. Normally when we get to those parts, that's the most engaging elements of the movie, and the soundtrack is really well done. There's even that song by Meatloaf that for some reason just kept getting stuck in my head.
And it has never been released outside of this movie.
For some reason. Again.
That was created for this movie.
Yeah. It was just never put out again.
So, yeah.
Is that your highlight?
It's music. And that scene, that specific scene with the Circle Jerk song, which I can't remember what it's called. Interesting piece of trivia. Yeah, Wild in the Streets, yeah. Interesting piece of trivia. You know the movie Lords of Dogtown? So the director of that film got her start on this film as a production designer. So I find that pretty cool that her first film is about skateboarding.
Well, I would imagine that would probably help inspire it later. As I said, despite that, there is some good skateboarding in it. Like I said, it is a skateboarding movie.
The skateboarding was good whenever they were doing competitions, but like I said, there were too many interstitials of just we are skateboarding from place to place and being assholes to everybody around us.
Which is weird, because if you contrast that with like BMX Bandits, there was a lot of that, but that was never really boring.
No, that was interesting, even though we did complain about it at the time of...
Yeah, but that was mostly, for that movie, it was because the chase in the middle of the movie is better than the chase at the end of the movie, which is not how you should do that. It should be the other way around. But in this case...
Oh, you mean the chase that was the whole middle third of the movie? Like,
yeah, that was better.
Literally 1/3 of the movie?
Yeah, that was better than the actual end chase at the end of the movie, because that was obviously shorter and not as exciting. But in this case, it's just kind of interesting, not interesting, interesting, not interesting, interesting, not interesting. It kind of spikes up and down. And it's not like there's too much skateboarding. It's just like it's not used to its fullest ability when it could be.
Yeah, this movie could have been about anything. It just so happened to be about skateboarding.
Yeah. I don't think it would have helped if they would have had more interesting drama to go around it, so you would have been more invested even when the skateboarding wasn't as exciting. But I think that's just the problem with the movie. It's
like, I can understand how it became a cult classic in the skate circles, just because of the fact that it does have some legitimately good skateboarding going on. It has skateboarders that were big at the time doing the skate work for it. It had really good style. Like, as much as I joke about the terribleness of the Daggers, like how bad they look, no, that was fairly punk style for the time.
A lot of good aesthetics.
A lot of good punk aesthetics. A lot of good like sets. Like, you can see it looks real to the scene. It's just that all the characters aren't.
The characters are just annoying mostly.
It's like I'm used to people looking like that, but not being total assholes.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue with the film, I think. Is that it has all the pieces, but it doesn't quite pull you into it when it very easily could. I think that's the thing. It's not like it's a highly ambitious thing where you're like, well, at least they tried and they fell short because it was really difficult. It's more like, well, they probably could have just done it this way and it would have been a lot easier to connect.
Yeah.
But they just didn't. I don't know why.
So, what would you give this movie score-wise?
I don't know, because despite all the problems, I did enjoy watching it. Like, it was fun to watch.
That's kind of where I'm sitting right now, is like, I did enjoy it.
There's obviously problems with it, but as a whole, I wasn't sitting there the whole time going, oh, this is annoying me so much. I wish I was watching something else.
I had to be doing other things at the same time. Like, I was literally reading up on more on background on the movie, even though there's nothing really to share about it.
Not really.
Yeah, so score-wise, would you rate it more than Gleaming the Cube or a lesser Gleaming the Cube? Would you rate it more than Rad or less than Rad?
Well, if you're going to compare it to, I guess, similar sports movies...
Is it better than BMX Bandits?
Well, that's what I mean. If you're going to compare it to other sports movies, like, there's a lot more sport in this than some of the other movies we covered. Like, Gleaming the Cube has skateboarding in it, and it is a central feature of the movie, but it's not the same sort of skateboarding. And I would say that...
That's more like streetboarding.
Gleaming the Cube also, like, climaxes really well, because that final part where they actually use the skateboarding with the traffic and the chasing is actually really good. Like, incredibly good. That's a great ending to that movie. In this movie, I can't say there's anything on that level. Like I said, it gets kind of close with that chase in the middle. Like when he escapes on the bus. That's pretty cool. That's pretty
Wild
clever.
in the streets.
Yeah, that was fun.
Running.
But I wouldn't say there's anything at that level, like anything that would really stand out. And you're talking about Rad. Rad, the entire movie is just...
Fun.
It's fun the whole way through.
Cheesy fun, yeah.
Yeah, and this movie, unfortunately, though, this movie doesn't really have any good cheese, which is unfortunate, because that probably would have helped. So, for me...
A 3?
I would give it a 3. Like,
that's exactly where I was feeling
it's just a 3. It's enjoyable. I think it's worth watching if you like skateboarding.
I enjoyed my time with it.
Like 80s sports movies. I think it's worth the time, but it's not one of the best ones we've watched. Not the best skateboarding movie we watched either.
No, it's not the best skateboarding movie.
Actually, of the 3, it's probably my least favorite. Let's be honest. Of the 3, it's probably my least favorite.
3 skateboarding movies?
Yep, Skateboard the movie, Gleaming the Cube, and this.
Oh, right, I forgot about that.
I would put both of those above this one. I said, this one's fine.
It's surprising that we've watched 3 skateboarding movies total in our entire time doing the Cannon Cruisers.
Yeah, like I said, they were better than this one. They're more enjoyable. They were different from each other.
But no
too.
inline skating movies.
Yeah, despite how popular that was.
No soap shoes movies.
Oops. I think that was a bit later than this. But yeah, overall,
No Heelys.
Overall, I would just rate this as it's a good watch, solid. I would recommend it if you like sports movies, if you like skateboarding, you like 80s kind of movies, I would recommend it. But overall, not one of the better ones.
Yeah, if you like skateboarding, it's an interesting period piece to watch, just to see, like, Venice Beach Skate Park.
Oh yeah, that's actually there in the movie.
Yeah, to see some of the pools they skate in. Wow, that they do very well when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's a lot like Skateboard the movie in that sense, when Skateboard the movie was kind of, this is the late 70s and it was there in every aspect of the movie. This is the mid 80s and it's there in every aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
So you get both of those. So
it looks very much of the period.
It's an interesting contrast between the two of them. So even in that aspect, I would recommend watching it if you like that kind of stuff. Overall, though, fine enough. I would still recommend it, I think.
And definitely watch it if you just want to listen to the soundtrack. Because it's not available anywhere, the soundtrack.
Unfortunately. Especially that Meatloaf song, because I was getting my head by the end.
Well, before we sign off, it says, so the 2 songs that were made for this movie, but they have never been released anywhere outside of the actual movie itself.
Yeah.
Thrashin' by Meatloaf and Touch the Sky by White Sister.
That's weird.
And neither of those songs are available anywhere. So you're not going to find it on Spotify, nothing.
But you'll probably find it on YouTube, I bet.
Yeah, you'll find it on YouTube. And I'm gonna just say that some of the songs in here, like they have "That's Good" by Devo, "Arrow Through My Heart" by Jimmy Demers, "Want You" by the Bangles, "Black Eyed Blonde" by Red Hot Chili Peppers as the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's how early this is. It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yep, that's very early on.
"Touch the Sky" by White Sister, "Dancing in Jamaica" by The Tribe, "Playground" by The Truth, "Hey" by Fear, "Maniac" by the Screaming Sirens, and yeah, "Wild in the Streets" by the Circle Jerks as the Circle Jerks, "Burning for You" by Rebel Faction, "Staring Down to Demons" Animotion, and "Couldn't Care More" by the Fine Young Cannibals.
Yeah. The guys who did Drive Me Crazy a couple of years later.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of a pretty crazy soundtrack.
Yeah. Overall, like I said, it's a recommend. All right, everybody, that's all we got for this one. So we'll see you next time when we continue our cruise through this sports movie catalog. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Beautiful girl at the club.
The music of the Bangles, Animotion, Devo, Meatloaf, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Thrashin.
Well, what do you thrash?
What do you got?
You'd like to be held like that?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Ain't it funny? Is it just beginner's luck? Well, maybe.
There he is! Get out!
Big bad Daggers. It's just the game, right, Valley Boy? You like games, right, Valley Boy?
An uphill romance
Cory, please don't go.
to a downhill race. Thrashin', it's not a kid's game anymore.